Good morning and welcome to the It's All Greek to Me blog tour. I'm Dr. Paul Kiritsis and this is blog number 9. Today I'm going to be relating an old Greek folktale about fate. Once upon a fate, there lived a very wealthy, insolent and selfish man named Andros, which means man, who like most suffered from the dangerous affliction of material wealth, was always disgruntled and never at peace. He was rich in all things, large fields to grow fruit and vegetables, animals like cows, sheep, donkeys and goats to fill them, properties with single and multi-story houses, and a great many horse carriages. Despite these prodigious assets, he was void of happiness. Now there came a time when Andros was required to travel to the neighbouring town to resolve issues surrounding the inheritance of his dead brother's properties. Andros was of a self-serving and stingy disposition, and thus avoided seeking out the hospitality of other wealthy or influential individuals for fear of attracting to himself the contingency of reciprocating favours of any sort. Despite the fact that he abhorred it, he much preferred the refuge of the filthy and flagrant neighbourhood slum, where one was bound to commune with the lower mortals who embraced and loved all without expecting anything in return. Their sentiments suited Andros just fine. So instead of seeking hospitality in the rich quarters, Andros began his door-knocking enterprise in the dilapidated downtown. He was dutifully received on his third attempt by a vibrant couple who made room for their overnight guest by laying a mattress in the corner of their two-room home. Before long, he became aware of a third presence in the home, a newborn baby. Had Andros known this from the beginning, he would have turned down the offer. He wasn't particularly enthused by the idea of sleeping in the same space as an infant prone to high-pitched outbursts through the night. Andros didn't even like kids, save for his own. After the young couple went to bed in the adjoining room, he found himself scowling repeatedly at the infant in the crib every time it laughed, burped, or whimpered. The night brimmed with all sorts of bothersome noises. Andros could hear the hoot of an owl as it soared above the house in search of prey, and the neighing of horses as they drew carriages urgently along the dirt road which passed directly in front of the cottage. It appears Hypnos, the god of sleep, had forgotten to sprinkle his nocturnal dust over Andros's eyes tonight. Huddling in the corner of his room, Andros pondered on how best he could fool his brother's wife into signing over her inherited possessions to him. He became so entangled in these fantasies that he failed to see 3 snow-coloured entities materialize from the slivers of moonlight that seeped into the room from the window and illuminated the baby's crib. The 3 entities morphed from vaguely discernible human figures into seductive femme fatales, to skin-wrinkled crones, to little girls with gold-coloured hair. Then they were femme fatales again. The sight mortified Andros. He cupped a hand over his mouth to muffle his own scream. "Look at this little cherub," one of them whispered, stroking the infant's head. "Isn't he gorgeous?" "He is, Clotho," another agreed. "Cute and adorable," said the third. "Too cute and adorable to be poor, that's for sure," said the one who went by the name Clotho. "Lachesis and Atropos, are you two thinking what I'm thinking?" "Sure," the other two nodded. "Let's take the biological parents out of the picture and weave this little bundle of joy into the graceless life of that miserable old fool lying in the corner over there," said Clotho. "Yes," the others agreed. "This little cutie will inherit the miser's wealth." 3 entities exchanged looks and giggled. Clotho withdrew a magic wand, waved it around, and muttered some words over the baby's crib. Then they all dematerialized into slivers of moonlight and disappeared. Andros, who'd been conscious, had heard every word that had been whispered in the preternatural dark. He was immediately gripped by fear that took on a more tangible form and formed a stranglehold around his neck. He began to hyperventilate, and it wasn't long before his whole body became saturated by a veil of perspiration. What possessed them to think that the son of an old nobody, a peasant, had any rights to the riches and glories that another had acquired through hard work and perseverance? No, he thought, there would be none of that. He would either beat the fates at their own game or take fate into his own hands. When dawn came, he scurried to his feet and stumbled into the adjoining room, having rehearsed the dramatic script in the recesses of his own mind. "Good morning," the young peasant said. "Did you sleep well?" "Couldn't have slept better," Andros lied. "I have a proposition for you." "What proposition?" "As I lay on the comfortable mattress you two cherished people offered me last night," he said, "I had time to mull things over, to think about why I'd been unhappy all these years. The realization struck me like a ton of bricks. I knew what had been missing from my life." "What had been missing from your life?" the peasant asked. "A child," Andros said. "You see, My wife and I have no children of our own. Watching your son as he slept peacefully last night, I came to realize that what was missing from my life was the presence of a child. I knew it, felt it. What greater joy could exist in this world to rival the reward and honour that comes with being a good parent? I always sought happiness and splendour in gold, instead of seeking it in the laughter of an infant. If you give me your son, I will raise him as my own. I would dearly love to be a father. Your son will be raised among wealth and nobility. He will be showered in gifts. He will be given opportunities the other children born to humble parents like you can only dream about. The peasant laughed. I just couldn't give you my son. Sure you could, Andros said. You and your wife are still young and will have many children. My wife and I, on the other hand, are way past our primes. And besides, the fates revealed it in my dream last night. They led me to you so that I could give your son a chance at life, a chance at happiness. But riches don't necessarily make one happier, the peasant argued. It all depends, Andros said. It certainly creates the conditions necessary for happiness to grow. If you don't have money, your chances of being happy are slim to none. The peasant looked at his wife. What do you think? She shrugged. The stranger speaks the truth, husband. He can give our child things that we can't. But if it is the decree of the mighty fates, as you say, then I willingly accept their will on condition that you allow us to see him as often and as quickly as we like. Have no fear, Andros said. You can see him whenever you choose. Then he is yours. But Andros never had any intention of adopting and raising the child. His ploy was more a theatrical ruse to separate the baby from its parents. As soon as he reached the outskirts of the city, he ordered his obedient servant to hurl the baby onto a sharp rock. I won't, the servant argued. God will cause misfortune to rain down upon me for having committed the most heinous of crimes. Andros yanked the servant to his feet by his shirt. Do it, you low-life filth, or I'll humiliate you in front of your own children. Let go of me, the servant said, staggering backwards. The servant stumbled towards the cornfields, torn between the act he was compelled to commit and the repercussions of not following through with it. Thankfully, he was the kind of guy who could weed his way out of unruly situations by thinking laterally. And think laterally he did, for the minute he reached the cornfields he picked up a rock and threw it against another with all his might, issuing a cacophonous noise to confuse his master. Leaving the infant hidden in the grasses, he raced back to the dust road where Andros stood, waiting beside the horse carriage. What happened? Andros asked him. I did it, but I think someone saw, the peasant panted. Quick, let's get out of here then, Andros yelled. Never once thinking that servant may have deceived him, Andros made haste for his hometown.